guys. So just a lot of stuff, Sunday after watching the film, especially on the offense side of the ball, just very impressed with a lot of guys. Obviously, a couple guys got headlines, but to be quite honest, Zai and Julian probably played the best football that they've played. Julian really in his entire career here, and Zai to date by far the best. He's put together a couple good strings of plays in a row, and then obviously Reggie, going into that game, really his first full week and we even actually backed off him on Wednesday. If the game heading into it, we thought obviously Caden would be the major workhorse, and then we thought Reggie somewhere 15 to 25. He ended up playing 67 plays the way he played. Just incredible performance by him. Really at the wide receiver position. Isaiah, Casey, Pat. Pat was having a heck of a game until he got rolled over on a sideline over there that kind of grabbed his ankle and rolled it a little bit. And Ashton came in, and Ashton was just awesome. Not only his blocks, but there's a play where he actually freed up Reggie on that crack toss. It was just the growth that young man's had has been absolutely awesome. And then the quarterback play for John was just awesome. Really what we saw all week during practice was kind of what carried into the game. I know last week you guys had it, we didn't really know if Luke was going to be cleared last week. He had a chance to pass the test on Wednesday, and if that was the case, that he had passed and he could have been cleared by Saturday, but that was ruled out from Wednesday. He actually did pass the next phase of the test on Friday. We took him and threw him around last night, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Defensively, obviously, way too many points, way too many penalties. It got to a point of ridiculousness, but there were some guys that played extremely well. Johnny just continued to be as impressive player as I've ever witnessed in my coaching career. Like, I know we've hit on it, but he just got up for the Bednarik. Is that the one's out already? And he's going to be mentioning a couple other here in the next coming days, and just a really, really, really impressive player to watch in many different ways. I thought Gabe and Seth together on the edges probably played the most complete game they had played. Gabe really came alive with a couple sacks and just the strength and the power that he has. Seth continues to move forward. Dylan Rosiak came in and did another really good job. And again, at the end, he made two critical plays, kind of like last week when he made some plays down the stretch there that were pretty important. So, and then it was really cool. I know we talked about him after the game. Mac Rossetich came off the bench and made a huge play that I think really could parlay into something special for him. Special teams, Hugh was incredible in the hang time. That's probably the best performance he'd had, actually, in the execution of the punt, the way we got it. David Alano, after hitting one, he really found his groove back in, I would say, more in line to what we had at the beginning of the year when he was really stroking it well. And then Caleb obviously missed the PAT, but to connect on the field goal is just really special from a national award standpoint. Obviously I already mentioned Johnny, but for Isaiah to get on the Blitnikoff, I know you guys know you've probably been tired of me here and trying to labor him into that, but I give Bret Moore a lot of credit. The detail that Bret puts together to get these guys on these lists, just truly excited for Isaiah and the work that he's put in, and John had to get the Big Ten Player of the Week, and then also the national recognition on a few other awards have been absolutely awesome. Injury-wise, Reggie handled it really, really well. Like I said, we thought it was going to be limited. He came through for his teammates in a big way. Keith, I wouldn't say he's quite back to where he needs to be, but he definitely sucked it up and played and did as good as we could expect. And then I thought two guys that shined for us at times, probably played as well as we have seen him play. And Bryce Barnes got in and did another continued things. Caden, who's going to be to be determined, hasn't been fully functional yet. Obviously, we haven't practiced, but depending on how he handles the week, we'll determine his availability. And then, the guy that obviously everybody's going to talk about, Luke, he basically was in a position on Saturday that he could be no contact, didn't want to put him out there. You probably saw him out there throwing around. We don't normally go out on the grass on Sunday, but we took him out on the grass Sunday and threw him around with the wideouts and did some stuff he looked really, really good on. He can't get officially cleared until he goes through a couple protocol things this week, but as coaches, we'll kind of work through that during the course of the week and see where it goes. Zai rolled his ankle but went back out there and, again, played well. And then Pat Bryant didn't finish the game, but he was trying to get back in there. I don't know if we'll have him available for Tuesday, but the plan is to have him out there Wednesday and should be good to go by Saturday. So be nice to get some of these guys back out here and moving. Kind of excited. Iowa, obviously, we played Iowa since I've been here, but that was the week that Ryan got COVID the week before. I got it after him, and I missed this game the last time it was played. But to go back and more importantly, to play a Big Ten team that's at the top of the Big 1G West, right? And Kirk and I have known each other for a long time, worked for him, utmost respect, a lot of things that I believe in. I carried through the beginning phases of learning from him, so excited for that matchup and all that goes into it, excited for our guys. Obviously, there's a lot to be said about what's all on the line, but really just to play Iowa at Iowa. It's going to be their senior day. I think it'll be a tremendous opportunity for our guys to kind of continue to grow and see where we're at. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Well, how will you approach quarterbacks this week? Obviously, Luke not cleared, but even if he is cleared, how will you go about that?
You know, quarterbacks, because of protocol, they have to be cleared for contact, but hopefully your quarterbacks don't have much contact, right? So, like, it's kind of unusual to get a quarterback. So he's got to go through some things Tuesday that will clear him for basically, if he has no issues on Tuesday, he would be cleared full go if we played a game on Wednesday, just the way it kind of all lays out. So I think we'll just kind of take it to that approach. We'll just, if you know, I've never been a coach that has ever put a player in a position that they've lost by injury, right? So kind of went through that with my first year, but obviously John has played exceptionally well from the time he entered the game 2 weeks ago against Minnesota to the way he played last week. But I think our guys will know the plan very clear Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we'll make a decision as it gets closer. But the good news is we got two guys that we feel can play. And I'll say this, you know, Donovan got a lot of work last week. We worked Cal into some things, so there's been some alternate plans that have been a benefit of this whole situation.
Big Ten, you mentioned briefly, Big Ten West, a chance to still get in there with a lot of things. Do you talk about that with the guys at all? Are you worried about it?
I don't. Here's what I do know. In this world that we live in today, there's just so much availability for them to gather information. So on Sunday, we always take a kind of the look at world of college football. I definitely showed them where we stand, you know, with 5 other teams that are in the Big Ten West. I did make note of, you know, we still had 2 teams that were listed above us, so we got to play Iowa and Northwestern, and obviously Wisconsin and Minnesota are behind us. And, you know, the only team that's mathematically eliminated is really Purdue, right? So I think it's just one of those things. You make sure they understand it, but this really is. I've really had our guys focus the last 2 weeks on a daily approach. They've done a really good job, and we'll just kind of continue that momentum. But they are, I think, very aware of what could be out there, but they have to take advantage of this opportunity this week before it even matters.
You coach there, you know Kirk. Can you shed some light on what just makes Iowa so consistent year in and year out on defense?
Yeah, I think obviously the direction and the plan. You know, Kirk was an assistant under Hayden, so Kirk tells a story. He actually lied to Hayden about his age when he got the job. They didn't do a lot of HR research, I guess, back then. I think he let Coach know that he was a little bit older than he really was. He always tells that story. I think it's kind of funny. And so he went there as a young coach, was around a lot of really good coaches, Dan McCarney, Bill Snyder, that staff, Barry Alvarez. Like, I mean, it was an all-star staff that learned fundamental football. And then, you know, I think as I've evolved in my career, I always go back to, you know, I was with Hayden, obviously, I was with Kirk, I was with Bill Snyder, I was with Barry Alvarez, and every one of those guys had some Hayden things in them, right? And even Coach Alvarez, when he was around me, he would always laugh when he would see me do Hayden things, you know, like within the program. So I think the foundation starts it, and then they just do a really good job of evaluating. Not just Kirk, I mean, Phil Parker, he and I were young coaches. I was a linebacker coach, he was a DB coach. He hadn't been around Norm in a coordinator role. As I didn't know Norm at all. He knew Norm a little bit. So I learned the defense through Phil and Norm. So the foundation of what this defense is, I was there for the whole part of it. And that's a huge factor in their success. Obviously, Phil's done an incredible job defensively year in and year out. LeVar Woods, who's our special teams coordinator, is a guy that I think the world of, that I actually helped recruit him to the University of Iowa, and he played when I was a coach. He and I have stayed extremely close. He's really close with Charlie Bullen. LeVar's a very talented coach. And then Brian, ironically, I coached in high school camp when he was playing linebacker before he became an O-lineman. So I've known all those guys for a long time, and tremendous respect. They just do things the right way and play with great fundamentals and good discipline.
What do you see as the cause for some of the secondary issues that you guys
What do I see as a cause?
Yeah.
Some basic core elements. There were matchup issues. You know, I've said many times in here, right? Like I am a big believer in matchups, and I knew going into that game, a couple of their receivers are matchup issues because of their just pure size and where they're putting them. Some technique came into play there. This is a repeat staff, repeat crew. We had this crew at Purdue, which we had some problems with. So there were some things going into the game we made our guys aware of and had to understand it. and people are human, right? Like there's going to be some things that come out. A year ago in the Purdue game, there were some things that literally carried into this game, like crazy how it all relates. But you have a Big Ten crew and people move around. So there was probably 2 or 3 big factors, and bottom line is they executed and we didn't.
You go from a shootout to possibly a grinded out type of football game. To be successful in the Big Ten, do you have to be able to win in a variety of different ways?
Yes, without a doubt. But I also think playing Iowa is a very unique animal. I think you probably asked Barry that, but I've played these guys a lot. Phil's been a D coordinator ever since I've been in this league as a coordinator and a head coach. So I think to know the way they play, you can't get frustrated. If you go look at their opponent's scoring points, take their offense out of it, right? Just about what teams score against them. It's very, very low compared to national averages. So you have to take advantage. Last year we kicked 3 field goals. Normally in that situation, I might have been a little bit more aggressive on 4th down, right? But I thought the way that game was playing out, we could win with 3 field goals, and it's what played out, right? So I think you need to know your opponent, and your opponent this week at Iowa is you better take advantage of every scoring opportunity you get.
On that note, how do you prepare your special teams in this kind of game where Iowa really thrives off that too?
Well, they're good, but we're good. We've been, they got a punter that, not to make any light of it, right? He punts a lot, right? And he's really good. He is extremely strong leg. They got a good scheme. LeVar has kind of had a unique protection that Iowa has run that is a little bit of a different preparation than anybody else. And then obviously their return guy, number 3, is an incredible football player on defense, and then a really gifted return guy. He's averaging over 11 yards, I believe, on 21 returns. So he's a very dynamic player in the way he plays, in the way he can make something out of nothing. That play at the end of Minnesota, whether it was called right, called not right, like that, just an incredible play. It literally it looks like a movie, right? Like 9 guys are standing there and they all kind of fall down, right? Like that. That's very unique, just because of the skill set that he brings.
It's probably been a while since you've been back to Iowa City. Obviously, you missed it.
Yeah, I
What's that place mean to you?
I don't know. Yeah, it's been a long time. I don't think I've been back. I know I haven't been back since I've been in this league, and before that, obviously the 5 years at Arkansas. So yeah, it's been a pretty long time. We last year in the basketball coaches versus cancer. My wife, she likes getting in these auctions where she thinks she's got to win, and we won tickets to the Iowa basketball game that McCaffrey had put up for auction. So technically, we have the ability to go to an Iowa basketball game this year. I don't know if that's really in the best interest of mine, but got so many good friends back there. Gary Dolphin, who is obviously the counterpart to Brian, is Gary Dolphin and I have known each other since I've been probably 21, 22 years old. He and I always joke around. I went to a golf event in the Quad Cities. He was obviously the radio broadcaster at the time, and back at that time I was young, early in my 20s, and I'd go play golf as much as I could. And we went to a golf event, a Hawkeye golf event, and it sounds like a joke, but my foursome was a nun, a man with one arm, and a midget, and the guy with one arm played with 4 putters, right? And we talk about that all the time because it sounds like a joke, but it was definite reality that I lived in. To play 18 holes with a nun and can't say anything that you want to say with some other guys was just priceless. So I've got a lot of great memories, a lot of people that are a big part of my life. If you go there, I'd recommend the Wig and Pen Pizza right there close to the stadium. That is about as Dick Query, the owner of that place, is one of my best friends in this world. So a lot of really good people there.
Brett, offensive line, you mentioned some of those guys playing well.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not the lineup you said you wanted before the season, but what are you seeing out of those guys?
It's kind of the lineup, but as you know, it's probably not the way I thought they're going to line. I really, Isaiah Adams, I really think in this year's draft he'll be one of the most highly sought after interior linemen in the draft, and he's playing out a tackle the whole year and has gotten better every game. And Isaiah and then Julian to play with a cast. And to play that way with his right hand, his eyes battled through injuries. Geske has really started to play well at left guard, and Krutzy has continued to get better every day at center. So not surprising, right? I think a lot of our issues in the beginning part of the year with some things were the way we played up front offensively, and not surprising when we have a little bit of success how well we're playing in that offensive line. I give Bart a lot of credit. I knew that was a big game for him. Bob Bostad is the O-line coach in Indiana, who was my original O-line coach, who actually Bart played for. So there was a lot of things into it. But even like today, I just literally left football office and they're making up their game plan. And for us to be successful this week, we got to be able to run the ball, and we got to be able to play our kind of football. It's really going to be kind of what both teams do, right? But I think for us, there's definitely some things that we did a year ago that were good that hopefully can carry forward. That Iowa doesn't change all that much. Their players change, right? That middle linebacker a year ago was an incredibly talented player. They had a couple of edge guys, but they always got good players. So it's going to be a tremendous challenge, but it should be a fun one.
I don't know if you saw Zach
One more
Arnett
after this.
fired today at Mississippi State. Just curious if you have any, just in January you were sharing a podium with him.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on, college football and coaching and everything else.
Yeah, I hit Zach up before the year started. I just was around him. Now, him and Bart Miller are actually college teammates. So there was some carryover when that announcement happened, and Mike and I were extremely close, right? So he and I shared some stories around that whole time frame. I have tremendous respect for Zach, and unfortunately, it's more and more every year. It seems like things are getting a little bit quicker. Some places money does not matter, So, this is a profession we all choose. I'm not really here to make anybody else's decision. I just kind of focus on the one I got. But it's part of college football, and it's, I always gauge it by my Sunday breakfast, right? So I usually, if we win, I take my daughters to La Peep, right? And mainly the reason I do it after wins is everybody's really friendly, right? If after a loss, I probably get bounced to the end of the line the whole time, right? So it's just, I think in today's world, everybody just feels there's got to be a strong reaction one way or the other, right? And I think when you sit back and assess and take things through, Bret does a great job of, there's some things, some milestones that we're accomplishing right now in our program that I have no idea that we're doing it, right? Like, of course, I don't want to be a 5-5 football team, but with that, we've won a lot of games here the last couple of years that hasn't been done here in a long time, and we're on the verge of doing things, and I can't be reactionary and lose focus on. I'm just trying to get better every time. But I will, I lifted up to experiences because of some of the injuries this year, the way things have laid out. There's a couple scenarios that we had a couple kids that were committed to us. We fell off at the end and didn't get them in, and then because of the way they fell off, I couldn't get someone in of their caliber, and having a couple immediate impacts on positions we've needed this year, and it profoundly affects your team, right? So, like, this rule that allows us to kind of adjust our 85 scholarship, it's something I'm really glad I had the 3 years of NFL experience, because that's really how you got to manage a team right now. It's a very ever-flowing roster with 85.
Seems like people really gravitate to John, your offense in particular.
John Paddock?
Yeah. What is it? What kind of skill, I guess, is it to have that where people...
Yeah, John, as you guys have been around him, a huge personality, right? Like, the first time I met him was through phone, right? And then had him in on a visit. The thing I love about John, he's very strong personality, but not like some people will have that and you'll be like, what is this guy all about, right? Like, he's just very genuine, very real. I saw that post-game interview, right, where he said, I'm a 6-year walk-on quarterback. I'm just going to let it rip, and that's him, right? Like, I think he's genuine every day. A lot has been said about his journey, right? And he kind of does have that approach in his demeanor, and I think that's what makes it easy. I think a lineman, literally in the locker room, the first thing he said, linemen, wide receivers love you, right? Like, that ain't fake, right? Like, that's what it is. And our defensive guys, I think from day one, you could see the way they responded to him. So, yeah, it's a fun time, and we'll see how much more we go.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.